Standing at my father's grave, I felt the weight of family history crushing down. Then Travis appeared with Amanda, my former fiancée, both dressed expensively and wearing matching smirks. 5 years since they betrayed me, yet the pain still lingered. Travis strutted over, champagne in hand, surveying my simple suit with mocking eyes. He leaned in close, whiskey breath hot against my ear. "So, I guess I won, right?" The words hung between us. I calmly turned, gesturing to the beautiful woman approaching. "Yeah? Well, meet my wife." He froze. Growing up in Philadelphia with my brother Travis was like living in the shadow of a hurricane. We shared a bedroom for 15 years in our modest suburban home. But we couldn't have been more different. I was the older one by 2 years, always with my nose in a book, fascinated by buildings and structures, sketching designs when other kids were playing video games. Travis was the golden boy, the athlete, the one with natural charisma that drew people to him like moths to flame. Our father, Alan Reynolds, was a practical man who worked as a civil engineer. He appreciated my academic drive and would spend hours discussing architectural concepts with me at the kitchen table. My interest in his field created a bond between us that Travis never quite managed to forge. Meanwhile, our mother Diane doted on Travis, attending every football game and track meet, proudly displaying his trophies in the living room while my academic awards gathered dust in a drawer. "Dylan's going to change the skyline someday," Dad would say, while Mom would counter with, "Travis is going to get a full athletic scholarship." They never meant to create a rivalry, but their different forms of pride fed into something unhealthy between us. The pattern started early. Whatever I had, Travis wanted. My birthday presents would mysteriously break. My friends would gradually become his friends. If I joined a club, Travis would join too and somehow become more popular within weeks. I didn't see it as competition back then. I just thought that's what brothers did. When I got a new Lego set, I'd invite Travis to build with me. When I was selected for honors math, I'd help him study. But looking back, I can see how his eyes would narrow whenever I achieved something first. College separated us temporarily. I went to Penn State for architecture, while Travis bounced between sports and business majors at 3 different schools. During those years, we developed something resembling a friendship. Distance helped, I think. We'd meet during holidays and actually talk, without the immediate pressure of comparison. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at Sullivan & Partners, a respected architecture firm in Philadelphia. I rented a small apartment downtown and started paying off my student loans. Meanwhile, Travis dropped out of his final college and moved back home, working retail jobs and talking about finding himself. Then I met Amanda Clark. She came into the coffee shop across from my office one rainy Tuesday. She was struggling with her umbrella, laughing at herself, and something about her smile just hit me. Auburn hair, green eyes, and this infectious energy that filled the room. I offered her my napkins to dry off. She thanked me. And somehow, we ended up talking for 2 hours. Amanda worked as an event coordinator for luxury hotels. She was ambitious, articulate, and had this way of making me feel like the most interesting person in the world. We started dating, and for the first time, I felt like I'd found someone who saw me completely. Not as Travis's brother or Alan's son, but as Dylan. 2 years into our relationship, I knew she was the one. I spent 3 months' salary on a diamond ring and proposed during a weekend trip to Cape May. Her eyes filled with tears as she said yes. It was the happiest moment of my life. I called my parents immediately, and they insisted we come over for dinner to celebrate. That's when things started to shift. The night of our engagement dinner, I brought Amanda to meet my family. Travis was living at home again, after another failed job attempt. When he walked into the dining room and saw Amanda, something changed in his expression. It wasn't just his usual assessment of what I had that he might want. It was more intense, more focused. Throughout dinner, Travis was uncharacteristically attentive, telling his most impressive stories, laughing too loudly, finding excuses to touch Amanda's arm when passing the salt. I noticed Amanda laughing at his jokes more than usual, sitting up straighter, playing with her hair. I told myself I was being paranoid. We began planning the wedding for the following spring. Amanda threw herself into the details, spending hours discussing venues and flowers with my mother, who was thrilled to finally plan the wedding she'd always wanted. Travis started showing up at these planning sessions, offering to help. The night of our engagement party, which my parents hosted in their backyard, I went looking for Amanda to introduce her to my college roommate. I found her phone instead, left on the patio table. It lit up with a text from Travis. "Meet me in the garage in 10 minutes. Need to talk about us." I stood there, staring at those words, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet. I picked up the phone just as another message arrived. "I can't stop thinking about you." I waited by the garage, Amanda's phone still in my hand. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. 20 minutes passed before they emerged together, Travis's hand on the small of her back. They jumped when they saw me standing there in the shadows. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. Amanda recovered first. "Dylan, I was just getting some wedding advice from Travis." "Wedding advice?" I held up her phone, displaying the messages. "This doesn't look like wedding advice to me." Her face crumpled into tears immediately. "It's not what you think. Travis was just being silly." Travis stepped forward, all confidence. "Bro, you're overreacting. We were just talking. In the garage? In secret? While our engagement party is happening?" Amanda reached for her phone. "Give that back. You have no right to read my messages." Something snapped inside me then. "No right? You're about to become my wife. And you're sneaking around with my brother." "Nothing happened," Travis insisted. But there was something in his eyes. Pride. Challenge. The same look he'd get when he'd steal my spotlight as kids. "Tell me the truth," I demanded, looking at Amanda. "How long has this been going on?" Her tears stopped abruptly. "There's nothing going on. But if there was, maybe it's because Travis actually pays attention to me. Do you know he's the only one who asked what I wanted for this wedding? Not what you or your mother wanted?" The argument escalated quickly. Amanda's accusations grew more bizarre with each passing minute. Suddenly I was controlling. I was boring. I was too focused on my career. All things she'd previously said she loved about me. When I turned to Travis, his defense was to attack. "You never deserved her anyway. You don't know how to treat a woman like Amanda." I lunged at him then, grabbing his collar. It was the first time I'd ever tried to hit my brother. Our father rushed in, pulling us apart while guests stared in shock. My mother immediately took Travis's side, asking what I had done to cause this. The engagement party ended in shambles. Amanda gave me back the ring that night, a speech prepared about how she needed space and wasn't ready. I asked her directly if Travis was involved. She denied it vehemently, claiming I was paranoid and controlling. The gaslighting was almost worse than the betrayal. 3 weeks later, they were publicly dating. My father tried to talk to me. "Son, I don't know what happened, but family is family. You'll meet someone else." "Did you talk to Travis about family being family?" I asked. His silence was answer enough. The wedding vendors had to be canceled. Deposits were lost. Friends and extended family called with awkward condolences. I withdrew from social events, unable to face the humiliation. Meanwhile, Travis and Amanda flaunted their relationship everywhere, including family gatherings I could no longer attend. My childhood friend Sam was the only one who told me the complete truth. Over beers one night, 6 weeks after the breakup, he confessed, "I should have said something sooner, man. I saw them together at the Locust Bar 2 months before you proposed. They didn't see me. They were. It was definitely not innocent." The timeline hit me like a truck. They had been sneaking around for months, including the night before I proposed. The proposal, Amanda had tearfully accepted while already betraying me with my own brother. I confronted her via text. Her response was chilling. "We never meant for it to happen, but Travis and I have a connection I never had with you. I'm sorry you found out this way." No remorse, no real apology, just justification. My mother called shortly after, asking why I was still causing drama and suggesting I should be happy for Travis finding love. When I told her how long the affair had been going on, she dismissed it as Dylan always being jealous of his brother's success. The ultimate betrayal came at a family dinner I reluctantly attended for my father's birthday. Travis announced they were moving in together, into the very apartment complex I had originally planned to live in with Amanda after our wedding. My mother clapped with joy. My father looked at his plate. I walked out without a word. That night, I applied for a transfer to my firm's Denver office. They approved it within a week. I needed to get away from Philadelphia, from the constant reminders, from the family that couldn't see what had happened. Before leaving, I packed everything I owned, sold what wouldn't fit in my car, and changed my phone number. I told only my father where I was going. "I understand," he said quietly, as we had coffee one last time. "I wish things were different." "So do I," I replied. But neither of us knew how to fix what had broken. Denver was supposed to be my fresh start. New city, new office, new apartment with mountain views. But distance doesn't heal wounds if you carry them with you. I threw myself into work, volunteering for every project, staying late, coming in weekends. My colleagues thought I was ambitious. My boss was thrilled with my productivity. The truth was simpler. I couldn't bear to be alone with my thoughts. 6 months into my self-imposed exile, my firm assigned me to design a boutique hotel. It should have been exciting, my first major project lead. Instead, I felt nothing. The hotel client was an events company similar to Amanda's employer. Every meeting reminded me of her, of us, of what I'd lost. Night after night, I'd come home to my empty apartment, open a bottle of whiskey, and fall asleep watching mindless TV. When the bottle was empty, I'd buy another. On weekends, I'd drive into the mountains, find a trail, and hike until my legs gave out, hoping physical exhaustion would quiet my mind. It didn't. Social media became my self-torture device. I'd promised myself I wouldn't look, but after a few drinks, my resolve always crumbled. Travis and Amanda in Paris. Travis and Amanda at Eagles games. Travis and Amanda at family gatherings, where I should have been. Their life looked perfect, filtered through carefully staged photos and loving captions. The first woman I tried dating in Denver was Laura, a landscape architect who worked in the same building. She was kind, talented, and genuinely interested in me. We went on 3 dates before she gently ended things. "You're not ready," she said over coffee. "You flinch when I touch you. You check your phone constantly. You never ask me questions about myself." I couldn't argue with her assessment. My work began to suffer. The hotel designs were uninspired, functional but lacking soul. My boss called me in for a talk. "Whatever's going on, fix it," he said bluntly. "Your designs look like they were created by an algorithm, not an architect who cares about spaces people will inhabit." Then came Thanksgiving, 1 year after the broken engagement. I'd declined my family's invitation, claiming a work deadline. The truth was, I couldn't face seeing Travis and Amanda together at the holiday table. Dad called anyway, putting me on speakerphone so everyone could say hello. "We have some exciting news," my mother gushed. "Travis proposed to Amanda last night. Isn't that wonderful?" The silence from my end stretched too long. "Dylan?" my father prompted. "Congratulations," I managed to say, my voice hollow. "I have to go. Deadline." I hung up and demolished my apartment in a rage I didn't know I possessed. Broke glasses, punched walls, threw my phone against the refrigerator hard enough to shatter both screen and case. When the storm passed, I sat amid the wreckage, hands bleeding, and felt nothing but emptiness. The next morning, I bought a new phone and blocked every family member except my father. I changed my email address. I removed myself from social media. I went completely dark. For 2 years, I lived like a ghost in Denver. Work, home, occasional obligatory social events with colleagues who gave up trying to really know me. I spoke with my father every few weeks, brief conversations where we both pretended everything was fine. He never mentioned Travis or Amanda. I never asked. Dating attempts became increasingly rare and uniformly disastrous. I couldn't trust anyone, couldn't open up, couldn't believe compliments or kindness were genuine. The women I met sensed it immediately. This wall of suspicion I'd built around myself. Then one ordinary Tuesday, my phone rang with my father's number. "Son," he said, his voice different, weaker. "I need to tell you something." I sat down, already knowing this wasn't a casual call. I've been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. They're giving me 6 months to a year. The world stopped spinning for a moment. I'd like to see you, he continued. Before things get bad. If you can. I'll be on the next flight, I said without hesitation. Only after hanging up did I realize what going home meant. Facing Travis. Facing Amanda. Facing everything I'd been running from for 2 years. But my father needed me, and despite everything, I needed to see him too. The Philadelphia airport felt both familiar and foreign as I wheeled my suitcase through the terminal. Dad had offered to pick me up, but I insisted on renting a car. I needed the control, the ability to escape if necessary. My childhood home looked smaller than I remembered. Mom answered the door, her hair grayer, her face lined with worry. She hugged me awkwardly, as if unsure she still had the right. He's in the den, she said. Good days and bad days. Today's a good one. Dad sat in his recliner, thinner than I'd ever seen him, but his eyes lit up when I entered. There's my architect, he said, his voice raspier but still strong. Come here, son. I hugged him carefully, afraid I might break him. I've got 6 months, he said once we'd settled. Maybe a bit more with treatment. So no kid gloves, all right? I want to enjoy the time I have. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Your room's all ready, Mom said. We've kept it the same. The thought of sleeping in my childhood bedroom, with Travis and Amanda just across town in their married life, was almost unbearable. But I forced a smile. Thanks. That evening, the doorbell rang during dinner. My stomach clenched as I heard Travis's voice in the hallway. Then, Amanda's. I hadn't seen them in over 2 years. Hadn't prepared myself. They entered the dining room like celebrities arriving at a premiere. Travis, in an expensive suit despite this being a casual family dinner. Amanda, in a designer dress, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless. Her left hand prominently displayed a diamond ring that made the one I'd given her look modest by comparison. Dylan, Travis exclaimed with false warmth. The prodigal returns. I stood, shook his hand formally, nodded to Amanda, who had the decency to look uncomfortable. Good to see you, I lied. Dad watched this exchange with sad eyes. Mom bustled around, oblivious to the tension, delighted to have all her boys under one roof again. The dinner was excruciating. Travis dominated the conversation, talking about his new investment firm, their house in Society Hill, their recent vacation to Bali. Amanda smiled and nodded beside him, occasionally touching his arm possessively. I focused on my plate and thought about flight schedules back to Denver. After they left, Dad patted my hand. You did good, son. I know that wasn't easy. I helped him up to bed, alarmed at how much support he needed for the stairs. As I turned to go, he caught my arm. The hospice nurse comes tomorrow. Name's Jessica Parker. Good woman, professional. He paused. She knows a bit about you. Hope you don't mind. I didn't understand what he meant until the next morning when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman about my age, with warm brown eyes and a practical ponytail. You must be Dylan, she said, extending her hand. I'm Jessica, your father's hospice nurse. Something about her direct gaze, the firm handshake, the absence of either pity or judgment in her expression, caught me off guard. Nice to meet you, I replied, meaning it. Jessica became a daily presence. She'd arrive each morning, check Dad's vitals, adjust his medications, and somehow make even these clinical tasks seem like acts of compassion. She had a way of talking to him that preserved his dignity while acknowledging his illness. I found myself lingering during her visits, offering coffee, asking questions about his care. She never seemed rushed, always taking time to explain things clearly. Sometimes we'd talk after she'd finished with Dad about Denver, about Philadelphia, about nothing important, normal conversation that somehow felt like a forgotten luxury. 2 weeks into my stay, Dad asked me to take him for a drive. Mom was at her book club, and he was restless. Where to? I asked, helping him into the passenger seat. Just drive, he said. I want to talk. We ended up at Fairmount Park, sitting on a bench overlooking the water. Dad's breathing was labored from even this small exertion. I knew about Travis and Amanda, he said suddenly. Before you did, I turned to him, stunned. What? Saw them together at the mall, months before everything blew up. Holding hands when they thought no one was looking. He sighed. I confronted Travis. He swore it was nothing, that he'd end it. I wanted to believe him. Why didn't you tell me? The question came out sharper than I intended. Dad looked at his hands. Travis was always. He always wanted what you had. Since you were kids. I thought I could fix it before you got hurt. He met my eyes. I was wrong. I was wrong. 2S. Siso. He always wanted what you had. 2S. Has 2S losh. And S. I should have warned you, and I'll regret that until the day I die. The anger I expected to feel didn't come. Instead, there was just a profound sadness for all of us. Dad, Travis, myself trapped in patterns we couldn't seem to break. I forgive you, I said quietly, and realized I meant it. Dad's eyes filled with tears. You're a better man than either of us deserve. Back home, Jessica was waiting with Dad's afternoon medications. She noticed our subdued mood but didn't pry. Instead, she mentioned an architecture competition she'd read about in the morning paper. It's for a cancer treatment center, she said. Thought it might interest you given. She gestured vaguely around the house. That night, I looked up the competition. The brief called for designs that would humanize the treatment experience and create spaces of dignity and hope. Something stirred in me that I hadn't felt in years. The urge to create, to solve a problem through design. I stayed up until 3 in the morning, sketching preliminary ideas. For the first time since Amanda, I forgot to check the time. Forgot to drink. Forgot everything, except the work in front of me. The next day, Jessica brought the entry forms she'd picked up for me. Thought you might want these, she said casually. Your father mentioned you'd been up all night drawing. Thanks, I said, surprised by her thoughtfulness. I'm not sure I'll enter, but you should, she interrupted. Your dad showed me one of your sketches. It's really good. Over the next few weeks, a routine developed. Mornings with Dad, often joined by Jessica. Afternoons working on my competition entry. Evenings having dinner with my parents, occasionally interrupted by Travis and Amanda's visits, which I endured with increasing detachment. The competition became my sanctuary. In those hours of focused work, I rediscovered parts of myself I thought were gone forever. My passion for creating spaces that could affect how people felt. My eye for detail. My ability to lose myself in creative flow. Jessica would sometimes sit with me, asking questions about the design, offering perspectives from her experience with patients. Her insights were invaluable, pushing my concept in directions I wouldn't have considered. One evening, after a particularly productive session, she looked at my completed renderings and said, "This is going to help people, Dylan. Really help them." Something in her voice made me look up. The admiration in her eyes was genuine, untainted by obligation or history. For the first time in years, someone was seeing me not as Travis's brother or Amanda's ex, but just as myself. A month after my return, I submitted my competition entry. 2 weeks later, I received the call that I'd made the finals. The awards ceremony would be in Philadelphia the following month. That same afternoon, Travis and Amanda stopped by. Travis was visibly annoyed when I shared my news. Architecture competition? He scoffed. Is that really a priority right now? Before I could respond, Dad spoke up from his recliner. I'm proud of him. About time someone in this family created something worthwhile instead of just chasing money. Travis's face flushed with anger. Amanda placed a restraining hand on his arm, but her eyes darted around the room restlessly. As they were leaving, I overheard her on her phone in the hallway. I know, baby. I miss you too. Soon, I promise. No, he doesn't suspect a thing. She froze when she realized I was standing there. For a moment, our eyes locked in mutual recognition. She hadn't changed. Not really. And for the first time, that knowledge didn't hurt me at all. The morning after overhearing Amanda's conversation, Jessica arrived earlier than usual. She found me on the porch swing, watching the sunrise with a cup of coffee. Rough night? She asked, sitting beside me. Enlightening one, I replied. Then found myself telling her everything about Amanda and Travis, the betrayal, my exile in Denver. Words I hadn't spoken aloud to anyone came pouring out. Jessica listened without interruption, her face reflecting compassion without pity. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment, before responding. "Thank you for trusting me with that," she said simply. "I've never told anyone the whole story," I admitted. "Not even in Denver? No friends? No therapist?" I shook my head. I just buried it. Worked. Drank. Repeat. And now? The question made me pause. Now. I'm starting to think maybe it wasn't the end of my story. Just a really painful chapter. Her smile was small but warm. That's a good way to look at it. Our conversation was interrupted by Dad calling for his medication. As Jessica went inside, I realized I felt lighter than I had in years. Not healed, not yet, but like healing might actually be possible. Over the next few weeks, Jessica and I fell into a pattern of early morning conversations before she started her official duties. She told me about growing up in Lancaster, her decision to become a nurse after her grandmother's illness, her own heartbreak when her college boyfriend left her for her roommate. "Not quite the same scale as your brother and fiancé," she said with a rueful smile, "but enough to make me understand trust issues." "How did you get past it?" I asked. "Time. Friends." Realizing that his choices were about him, not me. She looked at me directly, and eventually understanding that giving new people the power to hurt me was the only way to also give them the power to bring me joy. The architecture competition results were announced at a gala in Center City. Jessica offered to attend with me, strictly as moral support, she insisted. My mother stayed home with Dad, whose good days were becoming fewer. Walking into the venue with Jessica beside me felt surreal. She wore a simple blue dress that somehow made her look both elegant and approachable. I realized with a start that this was the first time I'd seen her outside the context of my father's illness. "You clean up nice, Reynolds," she teased as we found our seats. "You're not so bad yourself, Parker," I replied, surprised by how natural this felt. When they announced I'd won first place, Jessica squeezed my hand. The judges praised my design for understanding that healing happens in spaces that honor the whole person, not just the illness. As I accepted the award, I caught Jessica's eyes in the crowd, her face glowing with genuine pride. Later that night, walking her to her car, something shifted between us. We both felt it. "Dylan," she began, then hesitated. "I know," I said. "This is complicated. You're my father's nurse. I'm leaving for Denver eventually. Neither of us was looking for this." "All true," she agreed. And yet, the kiss happened naturally, neither of us quite sure who moved first. Brief, tender, a question more than an answer. "I don't want to be your rebound," she whispered against my cheek. "You're not," I assured her. "You're the first real thing I've felt in years." The next morning, Dad noticed something had changed. "About time," he said cryptically when Jessica left the room. "She's good people, son. Don't overthink it." My winning design attracted attention from several firms, including an offer from a prestigious Philadelphia office. The Denver office congratulated me but made it clear they expected me back. "I need time to think," I told my boss on the phone. "Take a week," he replied. "But we need an answer." That weekend, Jessica and I went for coffee, our first official date. I told her about the job offers. "What are you thinking?" she asked, her face carefully neutral. "I'm thinking Denver was never home. Just a place to hide." I took a deep breath. "But I don't know if Philadelphia can be home again either. Too much history." Jessica nodded, understanding the unspoken question about us, whatever us might be. "I've been thinking about making a change too," she admitted. "I've always wanted to work in pediatric palliative care. There's a program in Denver, actually. Been meaning to apply." The possibility hung between us, neither wanting to push too hard too fast. "Let's take it one day at a time," I suggested. "See where we are when your father doesn't need me anymore." She finished gently. Dad's condition deteriorated rapidly the following month. Jessica extended her hours, practically living at the house. Our relationship developed in stolen moments, a touch while passing in the hallway, whispered conversations late at night, occasional walks when another nurse covered her shift. After one particularly bad night for Dad, I found Jessica crying in the kitchen. I'm sorry, she said, wiping her eyes. I'm supposed to be professional. I pulled her into my arms. You're allowed to care. It's what makes you good at what you do. She looked up at me, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. I need to tell you something. I applied for that position in Denver. Got a phone interview next week. My heart leapt in a way that should have scared me but didn't. That's fantastic. Is it? We haven't even figured out what this is between us. I took her hands in mine. I know exactly what this is, Jessica. This is me falling in love with you. This is me finding something real and good when I least expected it. This is me terrified and hopeful all at once. Her eyes widened. That's a lot of clarity for someone who couldn't commit to a dinner date 3 months ago. Almost losing everything has a way of clarifying what matters, I said. And you matter. Jessica. Whatever happens with jobs or cities, or anything else, you matter to me. That night, I decided to accept the Philadelphia job offer, with the condition I could transfer to their Denver office if things didn't work out. Jessica aced her phone interview. We agreed she would finish her contract in Philadelphia, then move to Denver if she got the job. I would return to Denver ahead of her, find us a place, prepare for her arrival. The night before I was scheduled to leave, Dad had one of his more lucid evenings. Jessica had gone home to pack for her own upcoming interview trip. Mom had gone to bed early, exhausted from caregiving. I've been watching you, Dad said as I sat beside his bed. With Jessica, I smiled. Not much gets past you, even now. She's the real deal, son. He took a labored breath. Not like Amanda, I finished for him. I know. Do you love her? The question was direct, typical of my father's no-nonsense approach. Yes, I answered without hesitation. Completely. He nodded, satisfied. Good. Then don't waste time. Life's shorter than you think. He gestured weakly at his frail body. Exhibit A. Dad. No, listen. I need to say this. He gathered his strength. I let you down with Travis. Let him get away with too much his whole life. Thought I was being fair, but I was just teaching him there were no consequences. It's okay, Dad. It's not, but I'm proud of you, Dylan, for not letting it break you, for finding your way back. His eyes drifted closed. For finding her. I sat with him until he fell asleep. His breathing shallow, but steady. In the morning, I postponed my flight. Something told me I needed to stay a little longer. 3 days later, Dad took a turn for the worse. Jessica called in the on-call doctor. The family gathered. Even Travis sobered up enough to sit quietly by the bed. In a moment when we were alone, Dad gripped my hand with surprising strength. One more thing, he whispered. The ring. Your grandmother's. Top drawer. My dresser. For Jessica. When you're ready. I swallowed hard. I'll find it. He smiled weakly. Already did, last night. Blue velvet box. I laughed, despite the tears. Always prepared. Architect's son, he replied, then closed his eyes again. That night, Jessica stayed past her shift, holding my hand as we kept vigil. In the quiet hours after midnight, with only the sound of the oxygen machine, I looked at this woman who had walked into my life when I was at my lowest and somehow helped me find myself again. Marry me, I said softly. Her head jerked up from where it had been resting on my shoulder. What? Not now, not tomorrow, but someday. When we're ready, marry me. Tears filled her eyes. Are you sure? With everything going on, your father, I've never been more sure of anything, I interrupted. Dad knows, approves, actually. Practically insisted. A small smile broke through her tears. In that case, yes. Someday. When we're ready. 2 weeks later, Dad stabilized enough that the doctor suggested we might have more time than initially thought. Jessica and I decided to get married quietly, with just my parents as witnesses. A simple ceremony at the courthouse, nothing fancy. What mattered was that Dad would see it. Travis arrived unannounced, the morning of the wedding, already smelling of alcohol at 10 in the morning. Heard you're getting married, he slurred, pushing past me into the house. Bit rushed. Don't you think? Dad's not even dead yet. Travis, don't, I warned. What? I'm just saying, congratulations. Found yourself a nurse. Very practical. His bitter laugh held no humor. Better hang on to this one tight, little brother. You know how slippery they can be. I should have thrown him out. Should have been angry. But looking at him, expensive clothes rumpled, eyes bloodshot, hands shaking slightly, all I felt was pity. You should go home, Travis. Sober up. Home to what? He spat. To Amanda and her. He caught himself, swaying slightly. Never mind. Enjoy your wedding day, Dylan. I'll try not to steal this one. He left as abruptly as he'd arrived. Jessica found me standing in the doorway, watching his car weave down the street. Everything okay? She asked, concerned. I turned to her, this woman who had brought light back into my life when I thought all the windows were closed forever. Everything is perfect, I replied, and meant it. Our courthouse wedding was simple, but perfect. Dad managed to stand for the ceremony, supported by Mom on one side and a walker on the other. Jessica wore a cream-colored sundress, with a small bouquet of daisies. I wore the only suit I'd brought from Denver. The judge was brief, but kind. When he pronounced us husband and wife, Dad's eyes shone with tears. Didn't think I'd get to see this, he whispered as he hugged me afterward. The celebration lunch back at the house was interrupted by an urgent call from Jessica's supervisor. Another hospice patient was in crisis, and they were short-staffed. Go, I told her. We've got forever. They need you now. She kissed me quickly. I'll be back as soon as I can. I love you. Love you too, Mrs. Reynolds, I replied, the new name feeling both strange and right on my tongue. After she left, Dad asked to speak with me privately in his room. His health had declined rapidly in recent weeks, good days becoming increasingly rare. I'm not going to make it to see you settled in Denver, he said without preamble once I'd helped him into bed. Dad, no arguments. I've made peace with it. He gestured to his nightstand. Top drawer, there's an envelope for you and Jessica. I opened the drawer and found a thick manila envelope with our names written in Dad's shaky handwriting. Wedding present, he explained. Down payment for a house in Denver. Or Philadelphia. Wherever you two decide to build your life. Dad, we can't. Already done. Just needs your signatures. He fixed me with the stern look I remembered from childhood. Let me do this, Dylan. Let me help you start right. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. One more thing, he continued. About Travis. I stiffened. He's going to need help when I'm gone. Real help, not just money. He's a grown man, Dad. A broken one. Dad sighed heavily. I'm not asking you to sacrifice your happiness for him. Just don't give up on him completely. Promise me you'll leave a door open, even if he never walks through it. I thought of Travis that morning, drunk and bitter. I'll try. That's all I can promise. Dad nodded, satisfied. That's enough. The next day, Travis and Amanda arrived for a scheduled visit. Amanda was subdued, her usual polished appearance slightly frayed at the edges. Travis was coldly sober, the kind of rigid control that suggested he was holding himself together through sheer willpower. Congratulations on your wedding, Amanda said stiffly, when we were briefly alone in the kitchen. Jessica seems nice. She is, I replied simply. Amanda fidgeted with her wedding ring, twisting it around her finger. I'm glad you found someone, really. I studied her face, searching for sincerity. Thank you, Dylan. She stopped, seemed to reconsider. Never mind. It doesn't matter now. Before I could respond, Jessica arrived home from her shift. The tension in the room thickened as the two women sized each other up. You must be Amanda, Jessica said evenly, extending her hand. I've heard a lot about you. Amanda flushed. All bad, I imagine. Actually, no, Jessica replied, her tone neutral. Dylan doesn't waste energy on bitterness. It's one of the things I love about him. The simple statement, delivered without malice, seemed to hit Amanda harder than any accusation could have. She excused herself to check on Travis. That evening, as we prepared dinner together, Jessica asked, "Does it bother you seeing her?" I considered the question carefully. It used to hurt. Now it just feels distant. Like looking at an old scar and barely remembering how you got it. She smiled, relief evident in her eyes. Good, because I was ready to fight for you if necessary. You already won, I assured her. The moment you walked into my life. 2 weeks later, Dad was hospitalized with pneumonia. The family took shifts sitting with him. Travis and Amanda took evenings, Mom mornings. Jessica and I covered afternoons and nights due to her medical background. On the third night, I stepped out to find coffee, leaving Jessica dozing in the chair beside Dad's bed. When I returned, I found Amanda standing in the hallway outside Dad's room, crying silently. Amanda? I approached cautiously. Is everything okay? Is Dad? He's fine, she said quickly, wiping her eyes. Well, not fine, but no change. I hesitated, then offered her my coffee. You look like you need this more than I do, she accepted with a watery smile. Thanks. We stood awkwardly for a moment before she spoke again. Your wife is amazing with him. The nurses said she's been adjusting his position and checking his IV like a professional. She is a professional, I reminded her gently. Right, of course. Amanda stared into the coffee cup. Dylan, I need to tell you something. My stomach tightened. What is it? Travis and I. She took a shuddering breath. We're not what you think. What everyone thinks. Amanda. No, please. Let me say this. Her voice grew firmer. It's not a fairy tale. It never was. We got together for all the wrong reasons. Him to prove he could take something you valued. Me because I was scared. Scared of what? Of the future you wanted. The commitment. The certainty. She laughed bitterly. Ironic, right? I ran from stability right into chaos. I didn't know what to say. The confession I might have longed for years ago now felt hollow. He's not faithful, she continued. Never has been. And now, with your dad dying and everything, he's drinking more, disappearing for days. She looked up, her eyes haunted. I made a terrible mistake, Dylan. The words hung between us. 5 years ago, they might have given me vindication. Now they just made me sad. I'm sorry, I said finally. For both of you. That's it? Her eyes flashed with sudden anger. I tell you our marriage is a sham, and you say you're sorry? What do you want me to say, Amanda? That I'm glad you're unhappy? That it serves you right? I shook my head. I don't feel that way. Then what do you feel? She demanded. Grateful, I answered honestly. If you hadn't left, I might never have found Jessica. Her face crumpled. I deserve that. It's not about deserving. It's just the truth. I glanced toward Dad's room. I should get back. Dylan, she called as. I turned away. For what it's worth. I really am sorry. For everything. I nodded once, then went back to my father and my wife. The next morning, the doctor told us Dad likely had only days left. We called Travis, who arrived within the hour, sober but disheveled. Amanda was conspicuously absent. She's not coming, he said shortly when Mom asked. She's not feeling well. The doctor explained Dad's condition in gentle but straightforward terms. When he left, Mom broke down. Jessica comforted her while I stepped into the hallway with Travis. I saw Amanda last night, I said quietly. His jaw tightened. Did you now? Rekindling old flames, while Dad's dying. She told me things aren't good between you. And you loved that, didn't you? He snapped. Perfect Dylan gets the perfect wife and the perfect life, while Travis crashes and burns, just like always. That's not. Save it, he interrupted. I don't need your pity. It's not pity, Travis. It's concern. For my brother. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, confusion, maybe even a flash of the brother I'd once known before jealousy consumed him. Yeah, well, he muttered, deflating slightly. Too little, too late. Jessica appeared in the doorway. He's asking for both of you. Dad was barely conscious, his breathing labored despite the oxygen. Mom sat on one side of the bed, holding his hand. Jessica indicated we should take positions on the other side. My boys, Dad whispered when he saw us. Both here. Travis and I exchanged an awkward glance, then each took one of Dad's hands. Need you to promise, Dad said. Each word an effort. Take care of each other. Be brothers again. Try. Travis looked away, his profile rigid. I squeezed Dad's hand. We'll try, Dad. I promise. Dad's eyes moved to Travis. Son? After a long moment, Travis nodded stiffly. I'll try. Dad's eyes closed, a small smile on his face. Good. That's good. Later that afternoon, Jessica pulled me aside. There's something you should know. When I went to get coffee earlier, I saw Amanda in the waiting room. What? Why didn't she come in? She said she didn't want to upset Travis. Ask me to give you this. Jessica handed me a folded note. I didn't read it. Jessica handed me a folded note. I unfolded the paper. I'm leaving Travis. Moving back to my parents in Boston. I told him last night. I'm so sorry for everything. Take care of him if you can. He needs help. Amanda. I showed Jessica the note. Her eyes widened. What are you going to do? Nothing right now. Dad needs us focused on him. I tucked the note into my pocket. Travis's problems will have to wait. Dad held on for 2 more days. We were all there at the end. Mom, Travis, Jessica, and me. It was peaceful, at least. A final breath, then stillness. In the quiet aftermath, Travis approached me in the hospital corridor. I need a drink, he said bluntly. Not a good idea, I replied. Probably not, he agreed. But I'm going to have one anyway. Several, actually. He paused. Could use some company. I glanced at Jessica, who nodded slightly. Go, I'll handle things here. 1 drink, I told Travis. Then we talk. He laughed humorlessly. About what? How I stole your girl and ruined my life. How I'm a failure. And you're a success. How Dad loved you best. About what happens now, I said simply. And for the record, Dad loved us both. Differently, but equally. Travis scoffed but didn't argue further. We found a quiet bar near the hospital. Travis ordered whiskey. I ordered water. Judging me already? He asked, gesturing at my glass. Someone needs to drive, I replied evenly. He tossed back his drink and signaled for another before speaking again. Amanda left me. Guess she told you. She mentioned things weren't good. She's screwing her personal trainer. Travis laughed bitterly. Cosmic justice, right? The cheater gets cheated on. I'm sorry. Are you? Really? He studied my face. You should be thrilled. It doesn't make me happy to see you suffering, Travis. It never did. His second drink arrived. He stared into it. I don't know how to fix any of it. My marriage. My job. My life. He looked up. How did you do it? After I didn't, for a long time, I admitted. I was a mess in Denver. Drinking too much, working too much, not connecting with anyone. What changed? Dad got sick. I came home. Met Jessica. I shrugged. Life happened. Travis was quiet for a moment. She's good for you. I can see that. She is, I agreed. I really thought Amanda and I would work. His voice cracked slightly. Thought I'd finally gotten something right. You can still get things right, Travis. It's not too late. He looked skeptical. Says who? Says your brother. For the first time in years, he didn't flinch at the word brother. Progress, maybe. Dad wanted us to try, I continued. To be brothers again. And you're just going to forget everything I did? He asked incredulously. No, I replied honestly. I'm never going to forget. But I might be able to forgive, eventually. If you want that. Travis drained his second drink, then pushed the empty glass away. I don't deserve it. Probably not, I agreed. But it's not about deserving. It's about choosing what kind of future we want. He didn't answer, but he didn't order another drink either. Baby steps. The next day, Jessica and I made arrangements to have a small courthouse wedding ceremony officially, legally recognized this time with just my mother as witness. The original ceremony had been more symbolic to ensure Dad could participate. Are you sure you want to do this now? Mom asked. With the funeral just days away? Dad would want us to, I assured her. Life going on and all that. The ceremony was brief, but meaningful, Mom cried. Jessica looked beautiful in a simple white dress we'd found at a department store. I wore Dad's tie. Travis didn't attend, claiming he needed to make funeral arrangements. But later that evening, he called. Congratulations, he said awkwardly. Again. Thanks, I replied, surprised. Listen, I've been thinking about what you said. About choices. and futures. He paused. I'm checking into rehab after the funeral. 30-day program. That's great, Travis. Really? Yeah, well, Dad would have wanted it. Another pause. Anyway, I just wanted you to know. As I hung up, Jessica wrapped her arms around me from behind. Everything okay? I turned to face my wife, the words still new and wonderful. Getting there. Slowly. The funeral was scheduled for 3 days later. The night before, Jessica held me as I finally allowed myself to break down, to really feel the grief I'd been holding at bay. I wish he could have met our kids someday, I whispered into her shoulder. He would have been an amazing grandfather, she agreed, stroking my hair. He liked you from the first day, I told her. Said you were good people. High praise from Alan Reynolds. She smiled through her own tears. Morning came too soon. The funeral home, the flowers, the gathering of distant relatives and friends, it all passed in a blur. Jessica stayed by my side, her hand in mine, anchoring me to the present when memories threatened to pull me under. Travis was supposed to deliver the eulogy. When the time came, he approached the podium, visibly trembling. He looked out at the assembled mourners, opened his mouth, then closed it again. After a long, agonizing moment, he turned to me. I can't, he whispered. Dylan, please. Without hesitation, I stood and took his place at the podium. Placed a steadying hand on his shoulder as I passed. I spoke about Dad's kindness, his work ethic, his quiet wisdom. About how he taught me to see the beauty in structures, the poetry in practical things. How he loved both his sons, even when we made it difficult. As I returned to my seat, Travis caught my arm. Thank you, he murmured. Then, almost too quietly to hear, I'm sorry. For everything. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. After the service, as people filtered toward their cars for the procession to the cemetery, Amanda appeared. She approached hesitantly, dressed simply in black, no jewelry except a plain silver necklace. I wanted to pay my respects, she said. Your father was always kind to me, even after everything. I nodded. He would appreciate you being here. Travis spotted her from across the room. For a moment, they locked eyes. Then he turned and walked out the door without a word. I should go, Amanda said quickly. You can stay, I offered. Come to the burial. She shook her head. No. This is for family. I just wanted to say goodbye to Alan. And to wish you happiness. Dylan. You and Jessica. As she left, Jessica joined me. You okay? Yeah, I replied, and meant it. Let's go say goodbye to my dad. The cemetery was peaceful, soft autumn light filtering through the trees. Jessica's hand remained firmly in mine as the minister spoke the final words over Dad's casket. Mom stood stoically on my other side, her grief contained but palpable. Travis stood slightly apart, his face unreadable. As the service concluded, people began to drift away toward their cars. The funeral director explained they would lower the casket once we had left. Mom hugged several distant relatives, accepting their condolences with quiet dignity. I was about to join her when I noticed Travis walking purposefully toward me, a champagne flute in his hand. Where he'd gotten alcohol at a funeral was beyond me, but his determined stride set off warning bells. Travis, this isn't the time, I said quietly as he approached. He ignored me, his eyes slightly glazed but focused. He surveyed my simple black suit with undisguised contempt, then leaned in close, whiskey breath hot against my ear. So, I guess I won, right? The words hung between us, shocking in their cruelty at our father's grave. Before I could respond, Jessica appeared at my side, beautiful in her modest black dress, her hand slipping naturally into mine. I turned toward her, drawing strength from her presence. Yeah? Well, meet my wife. Travis froze, his smirk faltering as he truly looked at Jessica for the first time. Not just as Dad's nurse or as my girlfriend, but as the woman I had chosen to build my life with, the woman who had helped me heal. The woman who represented everything his relationship with Amanda had failed to be. You're actually married? He stammered, looking between us. When did that happen? Twice. Actually, Jessica replied calmly. Once so your father could be there. And again legally yesterday. Nobody told me, Travis said, his voice suddenly small. You were busy with the funeral arrangements, I reminded him. And it was private. Just family. The implication that he might not have been included hit him visibly. His face flushed, then paled. I need some air, he muttered, turning abruptly and walking toward a cluster of trees at the cemetery's edge. Jessica squeezed my hand. Go talk to him. I'll help your mom with the guests. I found Travis sitting on a stone bench, the champagne flute discarded in the grass, his head in his hands. What the hell was that? I asked, keeping my voice low. I don't know, he admitted without looking up. Dad's gone and I wanted to hurt someone. At his funeral? Really? Travis finally raised his head. His eyes were red-rimmed, though whether from tears or alcohol was hard to tell. I'm a mess, Dylan. You know that. Dad knew it too. He laughed humorlessly. Even Amanda figured it out eventually. I sat beside him, leaving space between us. The rehab offer still stands. Yeah, I know, he sighed heavily. I'll go. After I get through today. We sat in silence for a moment, watching distant mourners getting into their cars. She's really something, Travis said finally. Your wife. Yes, she is. You seem happy. He said it like a foreign concept. I am. I studied my brother's profile. So similar to mine. Yet, marked by different choices, different paths. You could be too, you know. Eventually. I wouldn't even know where to start. Rehab is a good first step. He nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? And I want the truth. Okay. Do you hate me? For what I did with Amanda? The question I'd been expecting for 5 years, finally asked. I considered my answer carefully. I did. For a long time. Hated both of you. I watched a leaf spiral down from a nearby oak tree. But hate takes too much energy to maintain forever. So what do you feel now? Honestly, mostly nothing. Sometimes pity. Travis winced. Pity's worse than hate. Not the way I mean it, I clarified. I feel sorry that you've never had what I have now. Real love. Partnership. Someone who makes you better instead of feeding your worst instincts. Amanda and I had good times, he said defensively. I'm sure you did. But was it ever about love, or was it about beating me? His silence was answer enough. Let's get back, I said, standing. People will be wondering where we are. As we walked toward the parking area, Travis stopped suddenly. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not just for Amanda. For everything. The competition. The jealousy. Taking things that mattered to you. I know, I replied simply. Just like that? You forgive me? I didn't say that. I turned to face him directly. Forgiveness is a process, not an event. I'm willing to start that process. The rest depends on both of us. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. We rejoined the family at the cars. Mom embraced Travis, then me. Your father would be proud, she whispered. Seeing you two talking again. Jessica joined us, placing a gentle hand on Travis's arm. Will you come to the house for the reception? His eyes widened slightly at her kindness. If that's okay with everyone. It is, I confirmed. The reception was subdued but not somber. Dad wouldn't have wanted people crying into their casseroles. Old stories were shared. Some laughs mixed with the tears. Travis stayed sober, nursing a single ginger ale throughout the afternoon. He even helped Mom with the guests, a thoughtfulness I hadn't seen from him in years. As people began to leave, Travis approached Jessica and me in the kitchen. I'm heading out, he said. Got an early check-in at Clearview tomorrow. The rehabilitation center? Jessica asked. He nodded. 30 days minimum. Maybe longer if I need it. That's really great, Travis, I said sincerely. Dad would be proud. Yeah, well. He shuffled uncomfortably. Listen. When I get out, maybe we could talk? The three of us. I mean, we'd like that, Jessica answered before I could. We'll be in Denver, but we can come back for a visit. Or I could come there, Travis suggested hesitantly. If that's allowed. I exchanged glances with Jessica, who nodded slightly. We'll figure it out, I told him, one step at a time. For the first time all day, Travis smiled. It was small and uncertain, but genuine. "One step at a time," he repeated. "I can do that." After he left, Jessica wrapped her arms around me from behind as I washed dishes at the sink. "You okay?" she murmured against my shoulder. "Better than I expected to be," I admitted. "It's been a long day." "A long 5 years," she corrected gently. I turned in her arms, taking in her tired eyes, the compassion that never seemed to dim even after hours of supporting me and my family. "What did I do to deserve you?" I wondered aloud. "You didn't have to do anything," she replied simply. "That's how love works." 6 months later, Jessica and I were settled in our new home in Denver, a modest but charming house with mountain views, partially purchased with Dad's wedding gift. She had thrived in her new position with pediatric palliative care. I had returned to my architecture firm with renewed passion and creativity. Recently promoted to lead designer. The phone call came on a Sunday morning. Travis, 6 months sober, and working a steady job at a marketing firm. "I got some news yesterday," he said after the usual pleasantries. "Amanda filed for divorce." "Are you okay?" I asked cautiously. "Yeah, actually. It's been coming for a while." He paused. "My therapist says it's probably for the best. That what we had wasn't healthy." "Your therapist sounds smart." "She is." I could hear the smile in his voice. "Hey, I was thinking of using some vacation time next month. Denver's supposed to be nice in the spring." "It is," I confirmed. "We've got a guest room ready whenever you want to visit." After we hung up, Jessica joined me on the porch swing, a mug of tea in her hands and a particular glow about her that had nothing to do with the morning sunlight. "How's Travis?" she asked. "Good, I think. Really good. Wants to visit next month." "That's nice." She took a deliberate sip of her tea, then set it aside. "So, I have some news." "Oh?" "The doctor confirmed it yesterday." Her smile widened. "We're going to need that second bedroom sooner than we thought." For a nursery, the joy that swept through me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I pulled her into my arms, laughing and crying at once. "A baby," I whispered, awestruck. "We're having a baby." "In about 7 months," she confirmed. "Think you can design a proper nursery by then, Mr. Architect?" "It'll be my most important project ever," I promised, kissing her. Later that evening, as Jessica napped on the couch, I stood at our kitchen window, watching the sunset paint the distant mountains in shades of gold and purple. I thought about the twisting path that had led me here, the pain, the betrayal, the exile, and finally the return and redemption. 5 years ago, I thought my life was over when my brother stole the woman I planned to marry. Now I understood it was just beginning. The worst betrayal had ultimately led me to my greatest blessing. I picked up my phone and sent Travis a text. "Good news to share when you visit. You're going to be an uncle." His reply came almost immediately. "Congratulations, brother. Can't wait to meet the little architect." Brother. The word no longer carried pain, just possibility. Life rarely gives us what we think we want. Sometimes it gives us what we need instead. A father's illness, bringing a family together. A hospice nurse healing more than just the patient. A broken engagement leading to a stronger marriage. A rivalry between brothers slowly transforming into genuine goodwill. If you're listening to this and facing betrayal, loss, or heartbreak, know that your story isn't over. The darkest chapter might be the one that leads you to the light you never knew to seek. Trust the journey. Even when the path seems unbearably painful, your happiness may be waiting where you least expect to find it. What betrayal have you experienced that eventually led to something better? Leave a comment below and share your story. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes what feels like an ending is really just the beginning of something beautiful.